the accident be just what it was, involving two cars? Why did it have to be a green Charger? Why do we have to go get the green Charger? Why drag the Charger into it at all? If I'm 120 feet away, which is more than a football field, why am I being dragged into this? Why didn't they ask the witness, or if the witness said, hey, we weren't even here, why didn't that come out? Why is it that the headlines read, he wasn't at fault? Why is it the headlines don't read, he wasn't at the scene of the accident, he wasn't there? Because it gives a different connotation. If you say at fault, it implies he was somewhere around. If you say he wasn't there, it raises questions of how the hell did he get there? How did he get involved? Words matter, and they are carefully chosen and strategic. It's disingenuous to say he wasn't at fault. It implies he had something to do with it, but he wasn't the root cause, but he wasn't there. Help me understand how it is that everybody rushed to judgment on this particular young man in this small town with this lime green Dodge Charger that everybody knew that he drove, but they wanted to get the Charger, who wasn't there. This is disturbing because the parallels between Shedeur Sanders being defamed, which is slandered, and Kyren Lacy being defamed, which is slandered, and it cost them both greatly. The NFL revoking Kyren's combine invite and not giving him the benefit of the doubt at all was likely one of the first, or the catalyst to the beginning of the end, to him losing it, as they say. Which means he couldn't cope with being framed. He couldn't cope with being falsely accused. And how many times have y'all heard me say, I was worried about Shedeur Sanders because this has to be difficult to deal with, that this is to being set up, to being defamed, to being humiliated. You think he wasn't humiliated when the NFL revoked his combine invite because somebody falsified a police report and the NFL didn't bother to look into it? But they look into everything else. They supposedly know your every move that you make, what you had for breakfast, but you don't know this young man was being set up. But you worried about Shedeur wearing his hat backwards. And you didn't want Shedeur Sanders. You don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now, but you invite him and humiliate the hell out of him. And go on to devalue him and try to strip him of everything he worked so hard for and exploit him at the same time. Shedeur was on his way to the NFL to fulfill his dreams based on his talent, and they robbed him of that. Kyren Lacy was on his way to the NFL to fulfill his dreams, and they robbed him of that. And let's be clear, they both got robbed of generational wealth. Always follow the money. Now, no, I'm not saying the NFL expected Kyren Lacy to end his life, but they should have known that young people find it extremely difficult to cope with being framed, with being ostracized, with being humiliated. Shedeur ended up what? Being pulled over by the police. Kyren Lacy ended up in a police chase and apparently took his life. And sometimes I think these adults in the room know exactly how to apply pressure to make sure these young people can't make it. It's not a coincidence here that they both were on the way to the NFL. And the NFL had a hand in both of their situations. They know how much it means to these young men to get to the league. And Kyren Lacy was falsely accused. And the NFL didn't bother to err on the side of conservative. And you're innocent before guilty, which is the law of the land. Before you snatched away everything that he worked for. And now look. I heard Kyren Lacy's mom interview, and she said everything happens for a reason. And I know it has to be hard for her to say that, but I'm gonna tell you something. Kyren Lacy's situation should make you look at Shedeur Sanders, and we should be thanking our lucky stars that nothing happened to him.